The war seems to drag on forever. What's your scenario for an outcome or a solution for that war? How is it going to continue?
Well, I think it's going to be a long war, and I think that the Russians will ultimately prevail.
Hello, I have with me today John Mearsheimer, one of the preeminent political science theorists of international relations, and I'll be discussing a number of issues with John Mearsheimer. It's a pleasure and an honor. Welcome to Germany.
Glad to be here. Thank you for inviting me to be here.
It's a great honor. And you're a structural realist, when I was in school, in grad school, when I studied for my PhD, realism was one of the theoretical directions and theories we discussed about international relations. I identify with that theory too, but could you explain briefly what it is?
Well, realists believe that the most important element in international politics is power. How powerful a state is really matters. Because in the international system, where there's no higher authority that can protect you, you want to be as powerful as possible. Because if you're weak, other states take advantage of you. So the balance of power matters greatly. And realists believe that whether a state is a democracy or an autocracy or a fascist state or a communist state, it doesn't matter. All states, because they operate in this system where there's no higher authority, have no choice but to compete for power and to strive to be the most powerful state in the system. And I think, in essence, this is what realism is all about. And of course, I would note here that in the West, especially in the United States and in Western Europe, there is an intense dislike of realism because realism says that democracies behave no differently than authoritarian states. And in the West, in the liberal West, people want to believe that democracies behave in a noble fashion and autocracies do not. There are good guys and bad guys in the eyes of the vast majority of people in the West. And the democracies, of course, are the good guys. Realists say there are no good guys and bad guys. All states are pretty much the same, and they have no choice but to act in similar ways because of the structure of the international system. And again, when I talk about structure, what I'm talking about mainly is the fact that there's no higher authority that sits above states.
So Putin, Biden, Trump, doesn't really matter. I mean, it's the structure of the system, so it's how much do they come into the equation?
Absolutely. And if you listen to much of the rhetoric in the West, especially from President Biden, the conflict between Russia and the West is framed in terms of democracies versus an authoritarian state. And of course, this authoritarian state, Russia, is the bad guy, and we in the West are the good guys.
Of course, yeah.
But a realist would say that there are no good guys and bad guys here. And really what happened to cause the Ukrainian war was in large part a function of realist considerations. For example,